You're not doing smoked mozzarella.
And then I'll get lumens and then I'll do the other. Oh, there's Tim. I'll make Tim host.
Joe, can I share my screen?
You should be able to. All right, just made you host, Tim.
All right, here comes everybody.
Hi, Tim. I'm George. How are you?
Hey, George, I'm Tim from Rutgers University.
Pleasure. I was in the coffee room and then Joe kicked me out. So I'm in the right destination now, I think.
You are in the right, yeah, you've arrived at the right place. All right, I think I can pin, is it just gonna be you, George?
Yes.
All right, so I believe I can pin you. And then Joe already made you co-host, I believe. Look at that real quick. Oh, maybe not. I'm gonna make you a co-host, so that way you can share your screen if you need to.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to need to do that. I have a small deck to present. Nothing crazy.
Oh, hold on, I think I accidentally gave it to somebody else. Things moved around on me. Let's try that again. Make co-host. There we go. All right, now you should have sharing capabilities. There we go.
All right.
George is getting a shout out from the lovely Renee out there.
Tell her I'm going to miss her.
I'm gonna be a fly on the wall during this one. I've got my one-on-one here with my manager, but I'm gonna try to leave this open in the background.
Multitasking, nicely done.
Chime in with any questions, Aaron, anytime. Take a break from your one-on-one. It's so good.
Are you gonna start making 3D panels anytime soon? That'd be awesome if you did.
I don't know if that's on the roadmap yet, but yeah, that would be great, right? I think probably down the road someday.
Well, the joke is that Planar was the last one to make them, and literally we were the only people buying them, so they stopped making them.
I mean, there was a bit of a fad at the time, I guess, but there were some practical applications, and you probably were it, right?
Yeah, we were literally it. like I said, it wasn't cost effective to keep making them.
Right, right.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it was a great thing when I saw the 3D and all that stuff, but we couldn't make it application wise, it just wasn't worth it for us to kind of go down that road, so.
Well, the ones
It'll
that
get-
Planar made were awesome that we could all sync them together, so they're all gen locked together.
Mm.
Whereas the consumer ones couldn't do that.
George will just wait like another minute or so and just kind of see who else stops in, and we'll get going.
No worries.
Hey, Tim, can you hear me? This is Kristen Spiewak.
Hey, Kristen, yeah, I got you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm also from Sharp-NEC, but I am on just to give George some moral support.
Okay,
Just want to introduce myself. Nice to meet you.
nice to meet you too, Kristen.
Can't do anything without her. Oh, it's okay. She's the best.
Yeah, this is how it's definitely getting it's Friday afternoon. You could tell everyone's kind of slowing down a little bit as it's been a long week.
It's okay. Put me first, put me last. As long as I get put somewhere, it's okay.
I get you. All right, George, I'm gonna go ahead. You get started with this, and people can always catch the recording later too if need be. So
It's okay. It's okay. No problem. Well, Tim, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Hello, everybody. I'm George Borden, Solution Architect for Sharp-NEC Display Corporation. It's a real pleasure to be here today. I'm glad everybody's been having a great show this week. And today we're going to talk a little bit about collaboration in the sense of BYOD and the trend of BYOD and what's happening moving into the future, some of the considerations that need to be talked about, some of the benefits. There are pitfalls associated with BYOD as well, but I'd like to put this in more of the positive side of things, calling it potential benefits, and then we'll talk about some things from an IT perspective that need to be discussed as you're going through. If you're not already BYOD and you're discerning, thinking about getting into BYOD, then some of these questions and thoughts that are going to be proposed will help you in your guidance along the way. A lot of material out there for bring your own device. There's definitely a lot of resources out there for it, some really in-depth education-centric consultancies that can help your school and your education facility with the whole entire concept of BYOD. I'm going to give you a couple bit of nuggets that I did some research on just for specifics for this particular demonstration today, presentation today. But we'll also talk about the things that we do best as a manufacturer from the technology side of the equation that enhance the BYOD experience as we move down the road with this more top of mind. So with that said, let me go ahead and just talk a little bit about the agenda we're going to get into today. We're going to talk about what is BYOD, of course, the benefits, some considerations for IT. We're going to show you some of the models that we have that are BYOD capable as the trend continues in the Sharp-NEC host board line to adhere to that trend moving forward, and the benefits that we have with that. It won't be too speeds and feezy today because there's a whole lot of information that can be gleaned from our website, also a plethora of videos online. And of course, I'm always available and our team to help with any specific use case needs. I'm the solution architect with the solution team at Sharp-NEC. We're a group of 6 individuals that help end user salespeople, resellers, integrators with third-party solutions in the integration of our display technology, be it flat panel displays, collaboration, direct view LED, and projector technology. So we have a full-blown encompassing array of products that can be used for consideration for any of your display needs. And what we do is we do this with a consultative approach, where we have to understand the complete understanding of what's going on from your perspective, from your project to all the other surrounding elements for consideration to position the best display technology for your scenario. So it's a pleasure to be here today from the Sharp-NEC perspective. Now, real quickly, what is BYOD? So BYOD is an acronym for Bring Your Own Device. It's not a new acronym. It's been around for quite some time. The earliest writings that I've seen on BYOD go back into the mid-2000s, and its infancy started to percolate probably a little bit in the 2010s, 2012s, where there was a lot more research and study and scholarly works put toward the concept of BYOD. But just for formal definition's sake, bring your own device is the practice of allowing employees, students, faculty of any organization to use their own device, whether it be a computer, smartphone, or any other device for work purposes. So it was more of a elective endeavor moving forward up until the pandemic, when it got forced and thrust upon us. Now it's top of mind, and we've realized the benefits and also the pitfalls, depending upon what organization structure you are and how important things are for you as a result of that. But what we see here from the manufacturing side is that our products, they are trending to be more BYOD centric. So ease of connectivity in various different ways, which we'll talk about toward the middle of the deck. And we'll talk about that a little more as we get through what's going on here today. So before we get into some of the actual product offering, I want to talk a little bit about the benefits of bring your own device. And some of this is going to be very rudimentary, and I do apologize, but we have to, even if you're not yet encountering or thinking about BYOD, some of these thoughts are good for you to have as notes and questions to ask the professionals that can help your overall organization with a broad BYOD strategy. So the first thing is, it's your device. So it's my device. No one knows that device better than me. And I guess that's a good way to say it, because each of us, we have comfort and familiarity with our own computers. I've worked at many different companies over the years where a computer was not provided. And I guess for a technology person, it's not that hard to get ramped up on a computer, but there always are challenges. There's always a different graphic interface, or something's not quite right that you're familiar with your own device. And a lot of that had to do with, of course, protocols and structure and IT compliance, and just how the overall infrastructure and the IT department would lay that out. But now that we've gotten more comfortable with using our own devices, there's been a lot of benefits that have come as a result, including improved productivity. If we're working on something familiar, we know where our software is, we know how we can get to things very quickly, and ultimately we can exercise efficiencies when getting things done. So improve productivity and also flexibility, come in line with that. The other thing with BYOD is that, you can integrate the technology pretty quickly. So if you're working for a company and then there's a ramp up or an onboarding period, and then the company has to order your computer, you may not get your computer for 2 weeks, 3 weeks from now, or a week. So you have a little bit of a delay in that time. If you're doing a BYOD, there's probably some things you have to adhere to from the IT department, depending upon what their policy is for security and things like that. So you go through that minor exercise, and then you're off and running, working within the business resources, whether it be through VPN technology, virtual private network technology, or some other type of software as a service like Salesforce and things like that. So it allows for fast integration of the technology when you're bringing your own device. And one bit of statistic, this one was taken from 2012. That's why I mentioned early on that BYOD has a lot of study to it. And before it became thrust upon us, at that time, 2 out of 3 students preferred their own device for learning. So that's obviously become more popular now, all these years later. But it's your device. It's never been easier to use your own device, and there's familiarity and benefits that come as a result. The other one is scalability. So scalability is a big term in our world, especially when we're doing designs for video walls and direct view LED. And, they want to know if this device, if this technology can scale and grow with their organization. In other words, another term for that is future proofing your technology by. But definitely BYOD allows for some scalability efforts. And of course, these are all loosely based upon each one of the organization structure and IT policy, but it could allow for, faster ramp up for new faculty, staff, and students, very similar to the BYOD, that it's my device and I'm going to get running pretty quickly, but it allows for faster ramp up for that user experience. Increased opportunities for personal learning. Now, I found this one very fascinating as I was doing a little research into the education BYOD space, that by virtue of bringing your own device, if there are any special needs students or students that are, they need either additional work or they need some additional work to help stimulate their in-class experience, then definitely BYOD can help create that personalized experience from the teacher to the student. And I thought that was a fascinating couple articles that I read about that and that benefit. And last but not least, I mentioned this briefly, but from an IT perspective, some of these things weave in and out of some of these subject matters. It's ease of backend integration. So if you're bringing your computer, as long as the security credentials are locked down and whatever the policy is for the IT, then you can easily liaise as long as you have an internet connection with online software like Salesforce and Teams and things like that. So scalability is very important for your BYOD. Real quickly, I had to mention this, but mobility, of course, it's almost inherently understood that when you're using your own device, you're going to be very mobile, but you can take the work with you, take the school work with you. You can increase your productivity, and mobility is just very much self-explanatory, but needs to be mentioned nonetheless. The other thing we have is user satisfaction with BYOD. This one's a newer statistic than the 2012 one, but 3 out of 4 students prefer tablets over textbooks. So they obviously, the tablet is very famous, very popular for students. A lot of new technology coming around with touch laptops that have a hybrid laptop tablet feature to it. But again, a lot of students really prefer the tablet. In other words, BYOD with tablet is very, very prominent. And the other thing too is that 55% of employees are using personal devices for work at least some of the time, and I know that more are now, and then 85% of students, believe it or not, they own a laptop in addition to a tablet. So BYOD is primed and ready for the user satisfaction by virtue of using their own device. Now, another benefit of BYOD, and getting a little bit back to what we do from Sharp-NEC and our manufacturing with collaboration displays, there's been some advancements in ease of connectivity in the last few years. And a couple of those are the USB-C and USB-C cable connectivity. It allows for a single cable connection to your external device versus the older connection, which we still have available for any devices that don't have USB-C out there. But the older connection, of course, is the HDMI with a secondary cable for USB to help pass the touch to the external device. USB-C can allow for a single cable, so you don't have 2 cables to work with. So if you're using a tethered environment for BYOD, you can plug that single cable into the computer, and it's very easy and streamlined. The other thing too is wireless. So all of our models, we have a wireless module capability to it. So you can actually stream your, either through an app or directly to the display. You can stream your content directly to display. That seems to be more of the easy and convenient way of doing things in education. Obviously, if you have a classroom with over 10 students plus, and you need to ask, that particular student to share their screen, it's going to be easier for them to do that wirelessly than to go through the exercise of getting up and walking up to the physical cable and so on and so forth. So whatever your comfort level is, whatever you find to be advantageous, Sharp-NEC and our Aquos board models have these 2 convenient methods of getting your content to the screen. As a courtesy, I listed some of the models here with those features built in. The 4T model is traditionally our entry-level collaboration model. Then we go all the way up to the PNCD 701, 70-inch display for Windows, basically Windows, Microsoft Teams rooms and things like that. So we have the display that can fit the need. Now, on that note, so you can get a better idea of our offering set here from a collaboration standpoint. If you start over to the very left where we have the entry-level 4T, 4W, and you go all the way up to the very right, this basically gives you a good, better, best scenario of what we offer. If you feel like you want to learn more about this, please feel free to reach back to me or one of our professionals, and we can give you a more detailed rundown of these products. But they have all of the features that you could probably ever want. Ease of use, the ability to expand, the ability to add external devices, and all the way from 55-inch models all the way up to 86-inch models. A couple of the NEC legacy models that we have, they will be going end of life soon, but if you're interested in those, we can talk about that. But otherwise, the Sharp products for the Sharp Aquos board line, fantastic product. They've been around a long time. And again, the trend is to continue to move toward BYOD with the advents in technology such as USB-C and improved wireless technology. Now, I dare mention this because I'm not an IT professional. I don't run an IT department, but I feel that it's important since we are the title of the talk is that if you're thinking of getting into BYOD, then these are some of the things that you'll probably be talking with your IT department about, or the IT department will be talking to the other managers about, not necessarily in one way, shape, or form, but potential benefit from BYOD for the IT department could potentially be a reduced IT workload. If you're administering devices that are provided by the company, there's so much to administer from that level. Not only do you have the servers and all of the blade servers and everything that you have to, and all the peripherals for networking, but now you have all of these devices to administer from the ground up, the patches, the software fixes, the security updates. It can definitely be a time draining function. And as an IT professional, as knowing IT professionals, the last thing that you want in your day is another headache in your headache bucket. So BYOD can potentially give you a relief valve to reduce your IT workload. A question I always ask, do users take better care of their personal computer than a computer provided by the company? Kind of reminds me of an old analogy. Do I have a can of soda? It's a free can of soda. Then I have another can of soda over here. It's a $5 can of soda. They're both the same cans of soda. Do I value the one that I spent $5 on more than the free one? Well, I guess that's in the eye of the beholder, but I would venture to say that most folks tend to give more care and concern to their own personal device. So there's going to be a little bit more TLC to that. Just an opinion more than anything. I'd welcome any IT comments out there during the Q&A at the end. The other thing, reduction in workload. So workload, what that means to me is that, you have software upgrades, large scale coordination for software rollouts. These things can be eliminated or greatly reduced with a BYOD policy. Again, if the user is going to be beholden to the operating system and keeping certain basic patches, and then we come in as a corporate structure, and then we add a couple bits of software on top of that. Again, policy is going to be dictated by the IT professionals out there in the audience, but it's important that they can definitely focus on more issues if some of this stuff is streamlined. And the other thing I've seen in at least in higher education is the outsourcing of the help desk function. So let's just say an assumption would be that if we are using a BYOD versus company provided computers, there may be less of a help desk requirement because of familiarity with your personal computer. But that doesn't mean help desk is going to go away. Well, a benefit could be that the IT department could elect to outsource that tier 1 level help desk support, and then have level tier 2, 3 in-house and things like that. So there's ways to load balance the user experience in BYOD to correlate with a reduced workload and eventually cost savings as well. So speaking of cost savings, the next point, BYOD policy, we can reduce device purchases and fees. So obviously, if we're doing BYOD, then we don't need to beholden everybody and have a mantra to have everybody with a computer purchase coming from our pocket. So you will reduce your fees from a hardware and a software perspective, potentially software perspective, at least definitely from the hardware perspective. You can adopt a reimbursement program potentially. There's a lot of professionals out there, consultants that are in BYOD that are talking about this when they're setting up a management plan, and they're giving a roadmap battle plan for BYOD. So definitely students and employees can see some benefit if they have to foot any kind of upfront cost, and definitely saves money for the institution. And the other thing too is that focusing on technology funding for in-need students. So by virtue of not having to focus completely holistically on every need for everybody, we have students that have real needs, and so we can focus the needs for the students that we need to have wherewithal for, so that we can get those folks computers that may not be able to get them. Then that makes that much better for those folks that we can help. So potential cost reductions are definitely in play. And then last but not least, folks, I promised that this would be short today. And, we want to just talk about real quickly about security and privacy policy risks and those things. So there are risks. There's a lot of inherent risks with BYOD. I can't list them all because everybody has a different use case. But some of those potential risks are privacy issues. So we want to make sure that, there is a policy in place, and that there has to be a little bit of what I would call HR training, that we all get in corporate. To adhere to a policy and a use case within the work environment, even with our own computer. There may be potential compatibility issues. If a user has an older computer, I mentioned the HDMI with a secondary USB cable. Well, that's not necessarily an antiquated technology, but over time, that will definitely become a compatibility issue as the collaboration displays from manufacturing like us eventually eliminate that port. They will go away just like any other port that comes down the road. So we have USB-C now, and because we don't need to have two cables running and we're carrying the same information as an HDMI, then that's the trend that's going to happen there. Is your network up to date? It's a big one. Once you're going BYOD and you're leveraging all these network infrastructure resources, you're going to have to make sure that your network hardware is pushing the bandwidth that can accommodate all of these users, and that proper internet, bandwidth is coming into the facility. So do a network audit, make sure that all of the network infrastructure through your campuses are running at peak performance, and that there are no bottlenecks or no legacy switches, or hubs or anything that are preventing any smart flow of network traffic. And then last but not least, folks, and again, I'll open it up for Q&A after this, and I appreciate your time and attention today. Thank you very much. Does your current institution have a compliance policy to address BYOD? And if those out there that are not, then you can start thinking about these things today and get ready for, the time when you're ready to turn that function on for your faculty and students. But with that being said, the BYOD is never going to go away completely. Not only education, but also corporate can adjust and take this as a positive effect in many different ways, from a workload perspective to a money-saving perspective, and also from a user experience perspective. So we're going to be saving money, we're going to be more productive, and it's just going to be a basic win-win with that. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And Tim, if there's any questions I can help anybody with, I'm more than happy to do so.
So yeah, the chat's been pretty quiet, but the floor is open if you have any questions as far as the Sharp-NEC line there for George. Go ahead. Well, I know I do have one about the wireless capabilities. You had brought that up as part of the share, as one of the sharing options. Is that just a Wi-Fi direct connect to the display, or is that something that could be integrated with the existing network, so that way it could be shared over like the built-in infrastructure on wireless?
There's different models, and without going through all the different nuances of the models, we have the capability to do direct wireless in certain models. We do have Bluetooth receiver capability. They do have tethered connection for internet, and there is even an app function where you can actually download an app to do remote showing of content. So we really bookended the offering with a lot of different options. Some of the displays don't have certain options in them, but when it comes to the education side of things for wireless connectivity and the ease of connection, we have that in the education-centric models. And the other thing too, we also have some external software. The one thing that I didn't mention, I'm really keen on our pen and touch software, and I've not seen anything else like it. It's an external software application that can get loaded on your computer and act as an overlay or a whiteboard in addition to what you can do on the actual collaboration display itself. some great demos on that on YouTube, and it just adds to the user experience and allows for a greater whiteboard experience than most of just the general Pablum whiteboards that are out there.
All right, cool. Thank you, George.
You're very welcome.
I'm just gonna keep firing off other general questions that maybe people are thinking, not thinking. And it's always the big one nowadays, availability.
Oh, we have plenty of availability. There's a lot of stock. I typically don't have the availability report in front of me due to my
No,
vantage,
that's fine.
but we definitely have availability, and even
Great.
for some of the legacy product that's going to be going EOL, we have availability on that too.
Cool.
Okay. Well, I guess, Tim, I could probably give you a couple minutes of your time back. If anybody else, this is being recorded, if anybody else needs anything, or if I can ever be of service, please feel free to reach out to me directly at gborden@sharpnec-displays.com. You can reach me directly, and I'm more than happy to help you out.
Thank you very much, George, and thank you for everyone jumping in and listening to this presentation. I guess, yeah, head on back over to the main room, and yeah, you get some time back into your schedule. So
Thank you very much.